Yeah, I'm here, Lori. We're getting some, as we see some video here coming in right now, obviously from the scene, developing a very chaotic situation. These from our crews down there, and they have been working diligently. We're getting word of some schools closing, or getting more definition of that, and for parents who may have concerns about that, 3 area high schools have been evacuated. They are Leadership and Public Service, the Economics and Science High School, and both of those are located at 100 Trinity Place, and Murray Bertram, 411 Pearl Street. All other students, we're told, are being kept in the schools under heightened security right now. Parents and only parents are allowed to pick the kids up. Parents and only parents, so we need to stress that. Parents and only parents being allowed to pick the children up. The following schools have been identified now for triage operations for the treatment of the injured. That's Stuyvesant High School, which is at Chambers and West Side Highway, and PS 234, as well as PS 89. We should also note that we are told that Mayor Giuliani will be having a news conference, although of course that's subject to change, but we're told he's going to have it. When he does, we will of course have that for you.
It's at the scene now at the World Trade Center. Because of the concerns of the structural stability of the remaining tower, a temporary headquarters mobilization point triage center was set up at Stuyvesant High School, which is about 2.5 blocks up and slightly across the street. Now the concern is that if the building falls, if the second building falls, that it will be falling in that direction. So they are now evacuating their own command post and triage center, and they have to find an even further zone to move that to.
Clearly, with what's going on in the skies, where even apparently innocent civilian airliners can be employed as weapons of terrorists, what is our military doing right now, General Haig? What should they be doing?
Well, they have to be on full alert, and I would have hoped that we would get some aircraft up in the air to enforce the ban on flights. That has to be done if it has not already been done, and I'm sure it has been.
Something that is striking about this today is that this is indicative of, with a car bomb at the State Department, a plane crash into the Pentagon, 2 planes designated to crash into each tower of the World Trade Center, bringing one down. It connotes the level of planning and sophistication and extreme logistical ability that probably makes this singularly the largest, most well-coordinated act of terrorism, not just in U.S. history, but probably
in modern times.
In modern times.
Yeah,
unprecedented.
And every time you say that, I'm going to go immediately to Washington, but every time you say that, I keep thinking of how we are told time and time and time again by the Pentagon and by the State Department that they know something's going on in the world today.
They seem to have the problem at the North Tower, Peter.
Let's look at the North Tower quickly.
Seems to be coming down.
Oh my God.
The second tower.
It's hard to put it into words, and maybe one doesn't need to.
Senior law enforcement officials say a car bomb has exploded outside the State Department. That from the AP we're just getting. It was already among buildings here in the nation's capital that had been evacuated, so people had been asked to leave. They were leaving. We have just heard that the second tower has collapsed in New York City. The second World Trade Center tower has just collapsed in New York. We're looking at a live picture there. The first one collapsed about an hour ago now, and now the second apparently has done the same.
Well, this is not only devastating damage, it is devastating to look at this, but yes, the second tower has now collapsed. This after 2 separate plane crashes into one plane into each of the towers earlier this morning. There has been a rash of terrorist activity. Of course, a plane crashing into the Pentagon. Here we're looking at video now We're going to rejoin NBC coverage now. You can see it start to collapse.
That's a videotape replay.
President Bush did comment earlier. He called it an apparent terrorist attack, but then updated that to call it
seemingly at this point quite certain. He pledges the government's full support, as would be obvious, for the victims and their families, as well as a full-scale investigation to hunt down those responsible. Let's go back to Cindy Hsu in the newsroom, who's joining us now with another update. Cindy?
Wait a second. Is this a live picture? This is a live picture. We are seeing the second World Trade Center Tower number 1 has just collapsed, ladies and gentlemen. You see it live in our picture. One World Trade Center has just collapsed. That means both World Trade Center buildings have collapsed.
If Jim Smith is with us still in Chopper 2, Jimmy, you there?
What?
Michael, we just saw that as well. The second tower, the only one that was standing, tower number 1, just we saw some kind of explosion, a lot of smoke come out at the top of the tower, and then it collapsed down onto the streets below, much like we saw the first tower just about a half hour ago.
Gosh, this is an unbelievable, it's incredible, incredulous.
Truly, as you're looking at the at what there is of the Manhattan skyline at this point, the two most prominent landmarks, the World Trade Centers, now reduced to a pile of rubble and ash.
One other note, police, heavily armed police now guarding the Port Authority offices and the control tower in Newark. Of course, the airports are closed. PATH commuter trains canceled. New Jersey Transit right now continuing to operate trains into New York's Penn Station, but we're told there's no bus service to the Port Authority. New Jersey State Police have their emergency command center up and running. Right now, city and federal buildings in Newark still open, though, again, heavily fortified. That's the latest now. We're going to continue to monitor these developments, particularly with the schools closing.
The other tower, as you can see, seems to be collapsing, David, as we watch.
Unbelievable.
This is, it's collapsing inward and it's imploding. This is a horrific situation you're watching, ladies and gentlemen. If you are a child watching and you do not have a parent there, I don't know what to advise you. If you can understand this.
It's hard for an adult to understand.
Words cannot describe this. The North Tower of the World Trade Center, the second 110-foot structure that marks the landmark, that is a landmark of New York and Manhattan, and indeed the United States, has just collapsed.
Again, we are looking at two pictures. The one on the left of your screen is the Pentagon, where a section of that building has collapsed, struck by an aircraft. This is New York City, where one of the Twin Towers collapsed after it was struck by aircraft, one of the 110-story towers.
Emilio Delano, he's a terrorism expert over at American University. Sir, are you with us here? Emilio? I think we lost him. The phones in this area, everybody's on a cell phone.
Trying to get out. This was live of the second tower. We believe the second tower of the World Trade Center just collapsed. That's what you were looking at live.
A friend of mine works for the FBI. He's, you know, out in the field. He's an agent. And he tells me all the time that he's on surveillance outside people's houses who are known terrorists or possible terrorists. And they're constantly watching these people. So what I'm asking again is, how did this slip by? I mean, we can say, you know, 20/20 hindsight, but this was obviously a synchronized planned attack on two states.
But are they watching the people in this country or the people in other countries?
Oh my goodness, look at the screen.
Goodness.
Oh my God.
Oh. Both towers down.
Again, and I know that for many of you, you've heard this a lot, but I think it's important as people join us as they do in moments like this. They are coming in all the time, that there have been attacks in two American cities, New York and in Washington. The trade centers here in New York have been hit by airplanes. In Washington, there is a large fire at the Pentagon. The Pentagon has been evacuated. And there's, you can see, perhaps the second tower, the front tower, the top portion of which is collapsing. Good Lord. There are no words. You can see large pieces of the building falling. You can see the smoke rising. You can see a portion of the side of the building now just being covered on the right side as I look at it, covered in smoke. This is just a horrific scene and a horrific moment.
Yes, go ahead, Jim.
Johnny, as you basically informed some people what happened, assuming some people had no idea what was happening, what kinds of reactions are you getting from people?
Oh, look at this.
The second tower.
You're going to the second tower. You're looking at this live right now. Okay. Both towers now completely destroyed of the World Trade Center. You have no idea how many people may have been in those buildings. We have no idea. This is a major communication center for this city, for this country. Many government offices in those towers. Amazing video as you're watching it now. It's not video, it's live. It's right before your very eyes.
As we gather more information and we're sure we're settled where we're supposed to stop, we'll get back to you, because at this point, police are still not sure where we should be. And as you can see, a lot of police activity. They're trying to move the media to a safe area so we can do proper reporting and let everybody know exactly what's going on. For now, back to you.
Walter, have they given you any indication? I'm sorry, he can't hear me. All right. We simply do not know who has been hurt and what casualties might have occurred, which is the information that we are. I want you to take a look at what's happening right now. That is a live picture.
That's a live picture too. That's World Trade Center 2 has just collapsed.
That's the second of the towers to collapse.
We are now looking at the collapse of the second of the World Trade Center towers. Again, this is something that we never dreamed we would witness in our lifetime.
You cannot even see the sky there because of the soot, the ash, the crumbled concrete that is continuing to rain down after one of the two towers of the World Trade Center, the upper floors, collapsed. This after this apparent terrorist attack this morning that sent a large jetliner, perhaps two large jetliners, slamming into the Twin Towers.
Come over this way, Pat.
You can see the chaos.
Go. We can see the top of the building from here. Oh, yeah. Oh, there it goes, there it goes, there it goes, there it goes. Oh.
When it comes down, we're...
All right. We do need to put it down now. I think we need to put it down now. Here we go.
America, offer a prayer.
Both trade towers, where thousands of people work, on this day, Tuesday, have now been attacked and destroyed, with thousands of people either in them or in the immediate area adjacent to them. There is simply no way to accurately describe the emotion this evokes in people all over the world, friends of the United States and enemies of the United States as well.
Think about the loss of life that we could have seen this morning. If you think about the fact that when full, the World Trade Centers hold about 50,000 people, no telling how many people were at work before 9 o'clock this morning and then shortly after 9 o'clock in the other tower. But if you look at this picture here, Tom and Katie, at Lower Manhattan, it appears that terrorists have succeeded this time in doing what terrorists tried to do back in 1993.
This is war.
Freedom itself was attacked this morning by a faceless coward. And freedom will be defended.
I'm aware that there's still some who would question or even justify the offense of 9/11. But let us be clear. Al-Qaeda killed nearly 3,000 people on that day. The victims were innocent men, women, and children from America and many other nations who had done nothing to harm anybody. And yet Al-Qaeda chose to ruthlessly murder these people, claimed credit for the attack, and even now states their determination to kill on a massive scale. They have affiliates in many countries and are trying to expand their reach. These are not opinions to be debated. These are facts to be dealt with.